morning, student. So something I tell you is about new facilities of your NEWESPA, which is called the sandbox. So inside of your sandbox, you can talk to your TA with your actual code. Even though the Zoom has the facility to sharing the screen, but as you know, once you share your screen, your code is available publicly. So you don't want to that kind of sharing. So if you request your TA, I have a problem in my code, but up to now, your TA will ask you, can you please send an email of your code? Then your TA is examining your code and reply that. So it is somewhat tedious. So from now on, you have a new functionality of Sandbox. So once you request to your TA, hey, I have a question. It is very subtle, and could you help me? Then your TA will answer you with your special ID. And that session ID should be entered to your NEWESPA. And then you and your TA is talking, sharing the code only between the two. Okay, so your TA is just recorded an introductory video. So you can ask your TA for a session ID, and your TA will give you the session ID with your private chatting via Zoom. And you just enter the session ID from the Sandbox facility in your browser. So this is the student side, this is TA side. So in your student side, you can enter several codes here. So if you enter some code and press enter, and it is available in your TA screen. Okay, so and that is also true in your TA. Your TA can enter another code, and just pressing enter, then that code is available to you. So both of you is talking, sharing the code. So if you have a problematic code, just copy it, and you can paste it to the sandbox, and then you can send with a save and send button. And your TA has a lot box, and if you acknowledge it, it is available. And your TA may give you, hey, this is somewhat problematic part. Then it is available. It will be available to your part. So he's typing, here's something wrong here. Then send, and you are alert. You have alert. So you're accepting it, and you can find the code in your NEWESPA. Okay, so all of you can be easily helped by your TA. So I think your TA will be very busy from now on. Okay, so you can use this sandbox for free. So please use it. Okay, so today we want to talk about overloading and default arguments. Up to now, you have used overloading as an operator. We have seen that operator can be overloaded with operator something. So for example, plus, you want to add 2 points, point, and they can be overloaded with different types. So the plus is overloaded. The name of plus is overloaded for integer pair, and double pair, and point pair. So it has several overloadings here. And the same is true for the normal function. So overloading of normal functions is available, but the default arguments, using default arguments, you will take the similar effect of overloading. So if you are familiar to the Python, the default arguments is much like this. In your function header, you can specify the default arguments. But in a separate compilation environment, you may want to prototype in a separate file of H, and in your source file, you will make it available as a default arguments, but this is not true. So default arguments should be specified in your prototype, not here. So in your default argument, int equal to int equals 3, so that will be your default arguments. Okay, so this concept is very simple. So let's take a look at the overloading and default arguments today. And actually the overloading is overloading the function names. So you will have a same name with different functionalities, function 1 and function 2. So default arguments is basically using the same function with different argument values. The same function with different argument list. So as a function overloading, as a background, I'll explain that if you do want to define add integer, whose name is add I, accepting 2 integers and returning an integer. And add f is another add function accepting 2 double and returning double. But you know that the code is basically similar, but you will have different names. One is add I, the other is add f. So you know that the operator plus is overloaded in the function bodies. Why should I use different names for the functions? Should I use different names? Yes, you should in C, but not in C++. You can you can use the same name add for function add I and for function add f. So you have a same name here as the same name add, sorry. So the same name add is used here for different functions. So the function name add is overloaded. And you have a list of arguments, actually the number of arguments with a list of types. This information is called the signature, function signature actually. So the signature of first add is int pair, and the signature of second add function is double pair. So actually if you want to call add 2, 3, you'll get to know, your compiler get to know, okay, this is a pair of integers. So it is automatically fetched to here by matching this signature. So this procedure is called signature matching. So in order to resolve the overloading, you will need this kind of procedure that is called a signature matching. So the overloading is resolved to appropriate function with the signature matching procedure. And default arguments is another name of the same function with default argument list. Sometimes you want to set the coordinates of a point by the origin, but sometimes you want to set it with a specific coordinate. Then you can set p.set 2, 3. So you'd like to move the set 2, 3 here, 2, 3 here. So you want to set it p, but in another place, you want to set it to the origin here. So in order to provide two kinds of sets, you want to specify pointer set accepting two arguments, and pointer set, accepting no argument. So it is tedious, even though the argument, they have the similar behavior. So rather than defining these two functions, it is actually overloading our method. You can set it with default arguments here. This is the list of default arguments. So no argument is specified, then these default values are used as origin. If some argument is specified, that kind of value is used. So default argument take a similar effect of overloading because it should be reserved. So the order of argument is very important. They should be filled from the right. So you may want to make a summation code, and it is accepting three parameters, int A, int B, and int C, and you want to determine that you want to make a default arguments for the third arguments, you can specify it here. But if you want to specify default argument for the first argument, this one, then this should be set as default. So this is illegal. So default arguments should be filled from right to left. So they should be filled from the right. But in the function calling side, this is the function declaration side. In the calling side, in the function call, some and non-default argument should be filled from the left. So 2, 3. Then if you have a default argument -1 here, this means A is set by 2 and B is set by 3, not C. Okay, so they should be filled from the left here. So default argument is filled from the calling side here. So the following is illegal because you're setting default arguments from the left. This is illegal because Z is not the default argument. Okay, so this is illegal. But if you want to make a default for the first two arguments, you have to make a default for the third argument. So in the Z, they should be set as default. Then this is legal. It is okay. Okay, so the rule of thumb is here. If you want to set a particular position as a default argument, all the arguments from his right ones should be set as default. Okay? Okay? So the next issue is overloading constructors. You have used the constructors in the last lecture. You have used constructors like this, point is xy, point something, and they are overloaded. Okay, same constructor is specified no arguments and two argument list. And you know that this is a default constructor. Okay, accepting no argument. But a better way to specify the constructors is using the default arguments. Then, if you give no parameters, this argument is used for setting, okay? And if some argument is specified, it is set as like this. So if you are calling three constructors, P is set as using default arguments. Q is set, the first argument is set as 1, and second argument is default. And as you know, R is set to 3. Okay? So it is same to here, this one. This is same to this one with default arguments. Okay. So let's jump to today's problem. Any questions up here? No questions? Then I'll describe today's problem in another window. Say you want to use string library, which is a very enhanced library in C++. So the C++ much advanced string facilities using the class std.string. It provides the length method for the string length, and substring is for taking the subparts of the string as a substring method. And it can also use index operator. So it is basically very similar to the C string, which is implemented by character array, but this is much better. So the following code shows typical usage of a substring. So in your main code, you are declaring a line, and you can get a line from standard input. You will read a line, actually word, for integer equals I, starting from 0 and up to the length -1, and it is incremented. You would like to take a substring of I. So, but actually the substring has a default argument. It has a default argument whose second parameter is size. So this is the starting index. I is the starting index, and size should be specified, but it is in default argument. So in default, it is endpost, and endpost means up to the end. So the substring starting from 0 to the end, substring starting from 1 to the end. So all the substrings will be printed starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. So let's take a look of this code in your MageW. So let me reshare this. Edit substring. Oh, okay, I have to reshare this. So can you find that there's a substring will be printed here? So I'll make this, make a substring. It is already updated, and you can execute a substring, and it is waiting for your input. What's wrong? It seems quite odd. So let me just make another write. So let me make it again. Make substring. It is built again. Substring in the current folder. It is waiting for your input. So I typed hello, then it is printed like this. The original hello starting from 0 is printed, and if I is 1, hello is printed. I is 2, row is printed. 3, row is printed. O is printed. Question mark is printed. And as you know, the substring has no argument. It is starting from 0 to the end. So for the last one, you know that I added this version substring, and it is possible owing to the help of default argument. Okay? But let me execute this again. for 2 inputs, substring, so high C++, high CPP, then only high is read by C in the extraction operator. In that case, you may want to this, rather than this, you may want to get9. This is another version of get9, which is different to the C string approach. Do you remember another version of get9? In that get9 of buff size. Okay, this is another version of get9, which is defined IO string, but this is actually the version of string version, which is defined string C. So it is reading a string version onto your string. This is version to your character array. Okay, so the string is stored into the string with this get9. And for the second version of get9, which is a member function of iStream, it is returning a character array. So let me just build this again. Substring. So if you enter substring here, and if you enter high C++, and it is reading the whole line until the end of end of line, and the new line is read and it is dropped, not stored into your string. Read but dropped. Any questions up to here? If you don't have any question, then I'd like to just exemplify the default arguments. Sum.cpp, read, edit sum.cpp. So in this program, you can find that sum takes 4 arguments, A, B, C, D, and all of them are the default arguments. So you would like to print them, print the sum with no argument, with the first argument, second argument, third argument, fourth argument. Okay, so how they will be printed. So let's write this. Make sum. And the summation program will print 0 using default arguments for all places. 1 is using the default arguments the rest 3 places except 1. This is 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 2, 3, 6. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. So it seems that sum is overloaded for several arguments, but the effect is taken from the help of default arguments. Okay? So I'll reshare the PDF file in order to describe today's problem. Okay, so if you have any questions, so please use your Q&A board. So do you have any question on the current today's material? I hope all of you have a good result on your midterm exam. See you on next Wednesday. Okay. So bye-bye.